Good afternoon. Welcome to Tuesdays at 2. I'm Kirsten Neese, the Marketing Director for Cornerstone Homes. Today I have with us Roger Glover, the Principal and owner of Cornerstone Homes and the Crescent Group. Roger, it's been exactly 1 year since we sat down and talked about what was going on with the pandemic, and what a year it's been.
It's hard to believe it's been a year.
Yeah.
Feels like 10 years.
It was a remarkable year in a lot of ways, and we really have come through it and continue to work through it. But let's talk a little bit about your take on how we've weathered this last 12 months.
Well, I would say that as most builders, because for one reason we're able to continue to stay in business as an essential business. But I would say, for most 2020, we were able to finish the year fairly well. And then for the first few months of this year as well, it's finished pretty well. That being said, though, it's certainly is becoming more and more difficult to deal with the rising cost in labor and materials, and the shortages of both, and keep all our projects, our land projects, and our home construction on any kind of reasonable or predictable schedule.
Right. I know I was just sitting in a production meeting and they were talking about breaker boxes being on a shortage, that we're fine for right now, but they're not sure. I mean, who would have thought that an item like a breaker box that was just, readily available? So it certainly is causing twists and turns in every facet of our industry.
Most people have read or heard in the news about the price of lumber going up 4 times what it was just 12 months ago. But it's really price increases across the board. But back on 2020, as you know, we exclusively build, develop for 55 plus. So when the outbreak of COVID occurred, clearly we were marketing and selling and building for an age group that was one of the most at-risk age groups.
Absolutely.
So in March, April, and first part of May, basically we came to a total standstill, and initially pretty much discontinued all direct connection with our residents, or between our residents and our clubhouses and our communities, with our contract buyers.
No more happy hours. That was a big disappointment.
Well, also we had a lot of people that were under contract, and so raised their concern, or can we close? Are we going to be able to close this year? As well as you talking about the prospects. We went from, in all our communities, having 40 or 50 new people walk in our sales center to 1 week we had 0.
Yeah.
But fully understandable. Obviously, that was quite an unsettling time. It was difficult from a planning perspective. What are we going to be able to do? Because still a lot of things are uncertain. Were we going to lose 50% of closings, 25%, 75%? But instead of, worrying about what it was going to be, we decided to basically reset and focus on what can we do to safely and reasonably continue operation. Right. So the first focus was obviously new protocol and procedures for our residents, in terms of warranty work, in terms of residents working, being able to socialize with others and things like that. There for a while, there's a lot of people sitting on their porch, and we were running bands by. Yeah,
the driveway waves and the band truck. That was lots of fun.
And then secondly, the contract buyers. We had at the time probably 70 or 80 folks wanting and expecting to move in 2020. So there again, the idea of safely and comfortably setting up protocol and procedures where they could come to the closing table and then they could move into their home and feel good about it. I think in that process, we may have lost one buyer due to COVID complications for all of 2020 in that regard.
It was an incredible approach by our whole team, and working with our vendors and everybody, just kind of coming together and figuring new ways.
Well, and those were the 2 most important focuses to begin with in April, May, and July. And obviously that had a devastating effect on our traffic and new home sales, which basically ended up being 0 during that time period. But fortunately, you and Caroline, the others, all the people in sales and marketing basically realized you had to come up with a major pivot. And so it was basically all things became virtual, right?
Right.
And so that it was a remarkable job because starting September, October, we were back on track with sales and actually started exceeding our sales projections and maybe recording more sales per month than we ever have.
Yes, it was an unbelievable experience. And I think that the 55-year-old as a whole, just got more comfortable with the technology. They were really forced to handle the technology, and they did a great job, being comfortable with it, and our team.
Well, they definitely narrowed the gap between, technology gap between their grandkids and the grandparents. So
That's
that
right.
narrowed a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, brought everybody together.
While the grandkids were numbing away on virtual education, the parents were starting to figure out, how to surf the internet. And then going back, sort of the whole reset because of COVID, we also were focused on, how can we more safely and comfortably and reasonably set up protocols for our employees. I think we only had a few people that lost a few days because of it.
Right.
And then also clearly with all our trade partners and subcontractors and whatnot, we as a group in our projects didn't have quite the disruption and loss of time because of people coming down with the coronavirus. So I think all those things worked out pretty well for us.
Right. Now our team's getting fully vaccinated. We even had a salesperson working and making sales during her COVID experience.
And so that's in talking about it, and as it ends up, although we did not meet our projections for sales and closings for Cornerstone Homes, we still had the record closing in sales for Cornerstone Homes for 2020.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty neat. Now, obviously that's that's sort of the good news,
right?
Sort of the more lasting effects that are more challenging and maybe troublesome is that the end of last quarter, maybe even the third and fourth quarter of 2020, and certainly the first quarter this year, we're starting to see a number of issues cropping up that are really playing havoc on any kind of scheduling and completion. I mean, when you start with the shortage of labor and materials,
right?
You look at
weather patterns.
Well, the weather, the last 4 months and first 3 months of this year, again, a substantial increase in the typical bad weather days, rain days. Especially that's especially difficult and troublesome for land development,
right?
Because you can't push mud and you can't lay pipe in mud. So that really set us back on having lots ready to start the homes. You also look at the fact that municipalities with their permits, inspections, and approvals are just remain months behind on some of those and are very inconsistent, which again plays havoc on your schedule.
And I know one municipality even went totally virtual, and then it slowed them up. They were actually doing better before they went virtual, and now it's slower. So just everybody's working through all kinds of challenges.
One thing we still have the most trouble with is with our dry utilities, which is electric and gas. It's impossible to set up any kind of schedule that you can expect that they will follow.
Right, and they're feeling the same pressures. I mean, the market is just unbelievably exploding, and there's new home construction all over, and
so for those reasons, it's just putting in incredibly disruptive in terms of trying to do any planning, but setting up a schedule that you can rely on, even if you expand it out, is so difficult, and it can change at the even at the last second. Not only are a lot of materials being are they in short supply,
right?
But a lot of them are being simply discontinued.
Absolutely.
And they seem to be most prominent among those are appliances and other fixtures and selections and finishes that you would put in the house in the construction schedule would probably be in the last 30 to 45 days. Well, and they don't, that may
Right,
not happen
right.
until the day it's scheduled to go in.
Exactly. And
And
so,
I know that's a situation a builder has to figure out, but a lot of times those are things just aren't expected, and you're not forewarned. But those things, along with the fact that honestly that with the shortage, everybody pretty much knows demand and supply. That means prices are going up. So our cost, not just lumber, across the board are going up, and that's not only on us, but that's putting a lot of pressure on us being able to protect the margins that are becoming skinnier and skinnier. As you know, we've got a large backlog of homes, but they've all got fixed pricing. So the homeowners protected, their prices aren't going up, but our costs are.
and the homeowners protected, not only protected, they're making value on their homes even before they've actually purchased them, because the values of the homes are just skyrocketing as well. So they're, really sitting in a great situation, but making it a little bit troublesome for us in our industry.
Well, let me finish on one more thing on 2020 though. I was bigger picture, generally speaking. I thought it was a phenomenal effort by the team at Cornerstone Homes. The care, concern that they showed, the teamwork, pulling together to make sure that we continue to try to deliver the best homes with the best quality possible and with the best customer service. So I felt like that was very noteworthy, and very proud of our team. And not only that, as you know, you like this stuff to put out there marketing wise.
That's right.
But we had two communities that won Communities of the Year for Richmond.
Yep.
One of them as well won Community of the Year in 2020 for the whole state of Virginia.
That's right. Chickahominy Falls has just continued to excel, and the Cove at Lex Lane, or the Cove at Magnolia Lakes,
Right.
Winning Community of the Year for its number of homes as well. And that was actually really fun. I'm glad you talked about that and the success of 2020, which was one of the first
Right.
events that we had as a team coming out of COVID, was just recently, where we celebrated the MAME Awards, where we were awarded the Cove and
Right.
Chickahominy Falls, and all of our sales team won phenomenal awards for their excellence in 2020. So
Right, and even for 2020 being so difficult, being disruptive, and creating a lot of tension and pressure, fortunately, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, designated us as one of the top places to work in Richmond.
That's right. That's right. Another excellent feather in our cap that we're really proud of in our team here at Cornerstone Homes, and we just continue to bring on new people that want to be part of our team, and it's just been a great ride so far. So Roger, looking forward into the rest of 2021, and we have two communities that are just bursting and getting ready to have some new homeowners move in, at the Farmstead at Chickahominy Falls and the Grove at Lex Lane, which are nearly, both of them, over 75% sold out. And now we're getting ready to move these people in. And I know they're busting at the seams to get in, and we're busting at the seams for them to get in. And I know, looking forward with that ahead, and anything else you want to touch on?
Well, in terms of talking sort of like business practices and policy, and even looking at financial aspects of things, nothing's more important for us as a builder than finishing the land development, the lots on time, and building the homes on time, and then shrinking that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing leads to more success for a builder and a developer than shrinking the time period from the time they sign a contract with a buyer and close the house. So I think a lot of buyers feel like that's not as important to us as it is to them.
Right.
But our success as a company is totally geared on that. So whereas we may be at times failing miserably, it's not because that's not our focus. But talking about the Grove and the Farmstead and even Rivers Fall, absolutely the number one priority for us, all hands on deck, is to get these homes closed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those communities are the ones that ran into the greatest delays because of the very issues I mentioned earlier, especially on the land development. And then once we started construction, expecting utilities to show up, and they didn't. So that's fortunately, I think we've got our hands around that to a certain degree, and short of situations occurring where products don't show up as they're supposed to here at the end. Like I said, the focus is we're looking at closing more homes per month than we ever have.
Right.
And we're trying to gear up to handle that so that we can turn over, a completed home in great shape that we expect to do for our homeowners. So that is certainly our number one priority right now, and probably for 2021. On top of that, we're trying to probably increase our communication.
Right.
So we want to improve sort of the transparency, the clarity, and the timing of information across the board, not just with residents and buyers, but also with subcontractors and lenders and others that are all involved in the process. So, but primarily, we certainly want to improve our communication and interaction in that regard with our residents and with our contract buyers, especially as things are going to be changing monthly, if not weekly, many of which we really don't have control over.
Right. And that's what I love about this Tuesdays at 2 series, which, came out of thin air last year about this time. And here we're almost at, 45 of these sessions, and trying to provide information that the buyers want, the prospects want, the homeowners want, just to provide more clarity and information, and making sure that everyone on our team is really always giving those. We've increased our calls with our production team and our sales team to the buyers, and just really trying to improve upon that at every stretch.
Well, with all the difficulties with scheduling and how frustrating it is, maybe the approach has been, well, we don't need to tell them everything, because then they may be as frustrated as we are.
Right.
But maybe that's what we'll start. Maybe that's what we need to do. Just kidding aside, but other focus is, again, general one is figuring out any idea, modes, methods, any concepts and practices that we can start to implement or put together where we can get back to a reasonable schedule and a consistent schedule. Granted, us, like other builders, a lot of things beyond our control. Mm-hmm. There's shortages, materials not being available, those types of things. But we've got to figure out a way to think in the box and outside the box, and figure out a way quicker than our other builders and others to get that done, because having that predictability for our buyers, and knowing when they should start to sell their house, when they should start their moving process, when they can expect to move in. We know how important that is for them, and how frustrating it is when that changes on them. So that as well is certainly a huge focus for us.
Absolutely, and we've had some good meetings internally here with all of our management staff, kind of forward thinking, looking at the problems that we believe are coming ahead and figuring out ways to overcome those. So it's certainly at the forefront of all of our minds. So let's talk about the fun stuff. So when COVID came, we had to lock down and we weren't allowed to have events, but it's May, Cinco de Mayo is around the corner. Here there's a big party up at Chickahominy Falls of Brewing with the social committee, and really fun to see our residents back out and engaging with one another, and having fun at their happy hours now that everybody's fully vaccinated and feeling more comfortable with all of that.
Right. Plus, we've focused, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, and certainly at Chickahominy Falls, on really trying to promote more activities outdoors. Mm-hmm. Engaging, being out in the sun, and being outdoors more, and being more active in that regard. So certainly having a number of amenities with the farm right now, and others where there is room to socialize and interact in and outside at the same time, and still follow some of the COVID protocols. It's great that we can do that. It's really disheartening for me, knowing all the time we spend and the money we spend on great amenities for our communities, to see them just sitting there with nobody in them.
No kidding.
Sort of lifeless, and that's not what our communities and our brand's about. Our brand's about bringing people together, creating opportunities and experiences for people to have fun.
Right. And another fun thing that came out this year is the food trucks. All of our communities kind of adopted that, and we sort of started that with the marketing department, and then the neighbors kind of took that on, and all of them have food trucks regularly at their communities and are picnicking outside with their friends or using now the facilities that are on site. So that's really exciting and kind of a nice change of pace for everybody. So let's talk.
I'd say lastly about 2021. I mean, we're still cautiously optimistic, about the future for still for years to come for the 55 plus new home buyer, and new homes in general. So we are, we have several communities in Richmond, one outside Metro Richmond, where we're in the feasibility and entitlement process and going through rezoning. Continue to expand Chickahominy Falls with bringing in new sections. So that's remained a focus of the Crescent group, as well as looking to. We've got several projects going through the feasibility process, not just in Richmond, but in the greater Williamsburg and Fredericksburg market. Yeah,
I mean, with the Ike generation kind of aging up and the younger boomers really in the sweet spot right now and at record numbers and with record income, we're really positioned well at Cornerstone Homes to have some great projects for years to come, and really actively excited about that.
And probably a huge challenge, but one we want to try to take on, maybe insurmountable, but trying to find opportunities to bring similar product in homes in similar communities where the price points aren't rising as fast as they are now.
Right.
Trying to find a more affordable price point or home design where more people can enjoy our communities.
And I know that there's lots of people out there that would appreciate that. So what do you see for the marketplace in Richmond for the next year and the greater Virginia? I mean, in Virginia, what's your gut feeling on that? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I would say that you're probably going to see for the rest of this year, builders stay steady, stay busy, and still stay stressed out because there's the issues with shortages and delays are not going away,
right?
And price increases are not going away. So putting increased pressure on all the builders' ability to continue to build profitably and at a pace they would like. So I think because of, now stay steady, because like Cornerstone Homes, we have a record number of homes on backlog. Now on backlog means we've sold them and people are waiting to move in. We're way over 100 homes. There's builders here in Richmond that are over 200 homes. And all of us, and because of that record buildup in inventory, it was partially spurred by a lot of interest in new buying, but it's been caused by no one built the number of homes they wanted to in 2020.
Right.
So, or the first part of 2021. So now, because of the expanded schedules, their backlog is increasing. So you have that backlog, which is good, but it's not great this time around because one, every builder's cost is going up dramatically, but they've got their contracts with their buyers locked in. So good news for buyers, more stress and less good news for builders. But there's worse, it's better to have a contract on a house and maybe see your margin shrink than to have a house built and not be able to sell it.
Absolutely. And I think, part of what spurred that move and a lot of people and, the boomers wanting to move is they wanted to be near their grandkids. They were, locked down in maybe remote or locations where they weren't able to see their friends, but they'd like to see their family. So we have a lot of out-of-town buyers in our backlog. And I think, also just seeing the value in their homes where they're currently living and being able to transfer that into something brand new and being in a community where the house is really built for
But
them.
I think it's still good, and it's still a very good situation for people under contract because as well, a few other things, I do not see, interest rates moving up substantially, maybe marginally, over the next 12, even 18 months.
Right.
So that's good news because people, even though they're being delayed, probably worrying about are my rates going up. They could, but it'd probably only be marginal. And still they're getting a house where the costs have gone up substantially and they're locked in. Where that won't be the case for new home buyers, new home contracts. Right now, the other thing you're seeing is most builders are restricting the number of homes they'll sell per month or per community. because they have the backlog and they're not sure when they'll get to the new homes. So they don't want to lock in on a price and find out they can't even build it for that.
Right.
So that's another scenario. Beyond the next, this year and maybe beyond summer of 2022, I think it's much less predictable across the board, not just in Virginia or the Richmond market. Pictures very murky, and like I said, very, very unpredictable with change, just all the changes we see, and the changes, even federal administrative changes, have a dramatic impact on what lies in the future for our economy and for the home building industry.
Right.
And I'm a little concerned that not only is it more unpredictable, but it might be a lot more unforgiving.
Well, we all certainly remember the downturn in 06 through 08, and everybody, there's all kinds of people talking about what's ahead, and the market is strong, and we're not seeing the same things that we had then, and we're just all.
It's funny. I can't remember a single thing from 06 to 09.
It's funny how that works. It's like childbirth. You can't remember.
I can't remember any of it. I don't know what happened there. Maybe a psychiatrist could explain that.
Yeah. Well, it's good. We're all really looking forward to closing out and working through 2021 and getting our buyers in and here at Cornerstone Homes. So before we leave, I guess we'll go right into this. Before we leave, you ready for some rapid fire? Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, we before we started this talked about, well, what do you see 5-10 years out?
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it's I don't know because it's so unpredictable, but I still mainly I wouldn't be a developer builder, and I wouldn't have made it and forgotten all about 06, 09 if I wasn't more of an optimist than a pessimist. But I do see for the 55 plus buyer, we still got a good 10-15 years while you're riding an upward swing in total demand and sales. And so, for me, it's onward and,
right.
and hopefully upward. We exclusively build 55 plus, so that restricts the number of homes we can build because
right.
we're only in one segment, one niche of the overall market, and that's probably only about a third maybe of the whole market. We only build in that space. Well, even with that, we're now we've done within 4 or 5 years, top 10 builder in Metro Richmond.
Which is awesome.
And we're expanding, we're looking to expand our presence and our production in Williamsburg and Fredericksburg, where we've got activity going forward. So, we want to continue to hopefully maintain and improve the reputation of being hopefully being the area's best 55 plus builder and developer, and we're constantly looking to design communities and new home plans that our 55 plus buyer find the best, and creating the best opportunity to live the retirement years with new energy and loving where they live.
Yeah, and I just can't tell you how many times I'm on site at different communities and residents are saying, somebody offered me XYZ for my home, but there's no amount of money that I'd ever take to move out of this community. I just love it here, and I'm so glad I made the move. And that just makes all of us want to get to work faster the next day and really love what we do here at Cornerstone Homes and the buyers that we work for and the homeowners that we work for and build for. So Roger, rapid fire, we'll do something fun here.
Right.
We've been doing this lately. So hiking, biking, or skiing, what's your favorite recreational activity?
Biking.
All right. On a stationary or road biking?
Actually, mountain biking, as long as I'm not crashing into rocks or trees.
There you go.
Then road biking, lastly stationary bike.
Okay.
And if you're on a stationary bike, as long as I'm watching a sports event.
Oh, so not a Peloton fan.
No.
Your go-to meal out, steak, seafood?
Steak.
Steakhouse, all right.
Really hot dogs, but.
They're all beef. Your favorite vegetables?
Anything from Chickahominy Falls, Woodside Farms.
There you go. I love it. How about your choice for root?
Carrots and radishes.
Oh, interesting. You're a root vegetable.
Especially their winter carrots.
Ah, their radishes are really good. And I happen to like their They're turnips too.
Mm.
They're very good. Choice for reading. Do you like fact or fiction?
Well, I read so much fact but it's very narrow. I mean, I spend a lot of time reading, trade journals, reading construction magazines, listening to all kinds of National Association of Home Builder construction podcasts on all different subjects. So I feel like I get enough fact.
Right.
So if I'm gonna read a book, it's definitely just for fun.
Good.
And that means it's some adventure superhero type character or plot, and it's definitely fiction.
There you go. I love it. So what are you reading right now?
I just finished a book by Clyde Klussler.
Okay.
And so I'd say he's one of my favorite authors. I like John Grisham. I like the
adventure series.
Well, yeah, the adventure, but also because of the legal aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I did go to law school, never practiced, but so I still sort of enjoy. I can follow his books a little more, so I like that. Plus, I like the books where the good guy wins.
That's right. That's right. Always.
And David Baldacci.
He's a good one too.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, this has been so great, and I know our viewers have really enjoyed hearing from you. And we'll try not to make it another year before we sit down again. But thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.